Hello guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to discuss some more things about the decorators. We are going to start where we left in the previous video. Sorry for the time delay. We have approximately 3 weeks since I uploaded my last video. So I have been busy. So let's get started. So in this video, first we are going to discuss that how can we calculate the running time of the function. So when the function starts running and then the whole procedure executed, so how can we calculate the time, that how much time does this function take to execute. So this we will be going to learning in this video, and then we will discuss the practice problem to determine the proceeding time of the function, that then how much proceeding time is required for any specific function. And then we are going to discuss another practice problem to take numbers from the user in integer data type and sum them. So as we discussed earlier, that we are going to discuss the decorators. So if the user, in this example, if the user entered any other data type except integer, so we will generate a message by using the decorators reps. So what is reps, we will be discussing shortly. And then we will discuss that how can we use arguments with decorators. So these all the things we will be covering in this video. So if you want to learn all these things, please stick to me at the end of this video. Now let's proceed. So first we have to calculate the running time of the function. So first we have to import time module. So we have to use this command import and time to use the to determine the time of the running time of the function. We have to import time first, and then I am going to store the time in t1. So that is how we call time the modules which we just imported, and then by dot time function, the current time where the execution begins will be stored in t1. Now I am going to print a line so that when the execution begin, this line should appear, that this is line 1. Alright, so line 1 represents the beginning of the proceeding time. And then suppose to increase the time, I am going to using the if condition, that if x is 15, sorry, that if the x is 15, and then I can print here that x is equal to 50. Alright, so when this condition will true, then I can directly print here this is line 2. Alright, and then when this whole I can also write so many lines here to increase the time, but I think it is enough to show the difference between the execution and when the execution ends. And then I'm going to store the now after running all these lines, it will take, of course it will take some times, maybe in microsecond or in nanosecond, but it will take some time. And then I'm going to store the end of the execution in t2, and then I'm going to print that how much time it takes from t2 minus t1, so that when where the execution ends minus where the execution begin of this function or this program should appear at the output. So as you can see, if I run this program, there it is. You can see that it is 0.001, and this is the whole value we have. So this is the required time it takes. So I can also increase the time. We will learn in the second in this part practice problem to determine the proceeding time of the function, that how can we increase this time by using the loops and other things. Now let's discuss the first practice problem to determine the proceeding time of the function. So before jumping to this practice problem, I want to discuss about the wrappers. So that what are the wrappers. As we discussed in previous videos, wrappers are the internal function. First we have outer function and then we have the inner function. If you haven't seen my previous video, please go and watch it, because this video is the continuation of that video. All right. Now we have discussed wrappers function. So this wraps function we import to that. It is a part of the decorator function which is applied to the wrapper function, which is wrapper function is our inner function basically of the decorator. That it updates the wrapper function to looks like wrapped function by copying attributes such as name and doc strings. So what is this? When we will be discussing the practice problem, you will see that. First we have the proceeding time. So we have to discuss the proceeding time. Now to discuss the proceeding time, first thing we have to do is to import the wraps. So we can import from func tools. We have different libraries in func tools, and we can import wraps from func tools. And as we discussed, we need to use the time. We have to determine the time of proceeding time of the function, so we have to use this time. And then again, as we discussed, I am going to store the beginning time of this function in t1. So time function, which will be stored in t1, and then I'm going to create my the outer function. So I am using that calculate time. So calculate time is the name of the variable, and the argument is function. So, and then I am going to use my wraps function, which I just imported from the func tools. So as we discussed earlier, by calling we can call decorators by using the @. So I am using wraps. So inside the wraps, I am giving the same argument which we have in function. So whatever the argument will be given to call times will be updated into the inner function by using this wraps. Now, then I am going to create a function, our inner function called wrapper, and then star args. We are giving star args as an argument, and then I update the t1 with time slot, as because when this we want to see the proceeding time of the function. So basically we are discussing about this wraps function. So that when the wraps function will begin, so it will this t1, whatever the time it takes here, it will be updated, and then we can call a variable. In this variable we are going to store whatever we have in the argument. So I'm going to store this argument in a variable r, and any value can be contained through this argument. So I am using star args, and then when the execution of this function will end, we can store it in time 2. All right. So when all these things done, I can just directly print that I'm using string formatting. It will look better, that this function took t2 minus t1 time to run. So that this wrappers function, this will take t2 minus t1 time to run. All right. Now, only thing we need to do is to return this variable which will contain the argument, and then after we are after this, after returning the variable, we can just directly return our function, which is wrapper. So, and then I can finally use my outer function, which is my call function, call time, and then in the call time I have to give the value. as because what we are doing, we need to determine the proceeding time, as we discussed, as we need to determine the proceeding time of the function. So I am going to giving the value that basically what I am doing in this program, I am going to square the numbers. So as I square the numbers, how much time does it take to square each number? It depends on the value which I will give to this function. Now I am going to make a function called square, and inside the square I am going to n. This n is the argument, and then I am store it in a variable called f. You can give it any name, and then I am squaring. I am squaring whatever I am using for loop as for I in. I am going to range this n to n minus 1, and 1 to n plus 1 will be more correct, so it's fine. And then I can return f. All right. So now it is time to give the numbers. So so we should give the large numbers, suppose 1200, because as more time it takes to square the each numbers, the larger value we have by executing, by when the subtraction will be proceeding t2 minus t2. So as you can see, if I run this program, there is an error. What is it saying? That square is not defined. Sorry, I have to write here square instead of seq. So again I run this program. You can see that this function is took only 0.0 time to run. All right. So if I give here 12,000 numbers and again run this program, you can see that now the value is being given that this function takes 0.09 something. So you can give any bigger value you want. You can say that as I increases the numbers, these are the outputs. You can say that it is going into the, yes, these are the outputs. So it is going very large. It is the very large number, but you can see that despite of being very large number, it takes only less than a second. Yes, it is taking less than a second still. So let's proceed further. The second practice problem we have is to take numbers from user in integer data type and sum them. If the user entered any other data type, then we generate a message by using the decoder refs. So we have discussed the refs function and how we used it. So as we discussed that we have to import refs from function tools, and then basically the refs, what the refs will do, refs just add it, applied to the, that is applied to the wrapper function of a, it updates the wrapper function. Whatever we give the value to the, basically we give the value to the main outer function, and from the outer function it goes into this wraps, and wraps will update this wrapper function. So every time it is squaring and it is updating into this function, and after all these execution and storing in R, the first and the first from the first execution will be storing in T1, and when the last execution begins it will be stored in T2, and when the subtraction will continuous, and then finally we have the result in the output as we just discussed. Now in the second practice problem, what we have that we have to take the, we have to do this from refs. So first I am going to from func tools, I have to again import time, sorry, reps, and then I can, yes, we can just import reps. By using the reps function, we don't have to again and again call the wrappers function. We just need to call this reps, and it will automatically update anything in our inner function or wrappers functions. So now we have only integer data type. So I am giving my outer function name only integer, and I'm going to name is func, and then again I am using my reps function, and the same argument which I gave in the outer function I gave into the reps, so that it can automatically update my this inner function called wrappers or wrapper, and then the argument is so the argument is star args. So if I'm using all, as we discussed all function in my previous videos, so I'm not going in details now, that on all conditions that this condition must be true. Alright, now I'm using list formatting, list comprehension here. So type of the I must be integer. So so when this condition will true, we can just directly return function, and I'm going to give inside the func star args. So any it can accept anything, as we discussed the star args in previous videos. Now what we have here, we can directly just print. So if this condition is true, we can directly return this function. Alright, if this condition is not true and user writes something else, so I can just directly say that it is the invalid argument entered. Alright, or invalid argument entered. Now so I can now just directly return the wrappers function now. Wrapper. So and then I am going to use my only integer function and def. So as we need to give in only the integer data type, so as we are summing, so I am using add as the name of the function and star args. So in order to update all the integers that we give in an argument of the function, so we first need the variable t, and we are assigning 0 value to it, and then we will update it by the for loop for I in args, and then we have is equals to 1. Alright, and then we can directly return total. So sorry, we have to write here I not 1, because when the for loop will begin, whatever we given as an argument of the function, for loop will execute in order to args, and then I can just call my add function and give the integers. Suppose I give 1, 2, 3, 4, and then run this program. There is an error. Sorry, I have to use the square. I have to use the round brackets here, not the square brackets. Now this is the format of type I, as it is saying it is the type error. So as you can see, if I again run this program, there is still an error. Total is not defined. So total, yes, sorry that I have to use t here instead of total. So it is, their sum is 10. So suppose if I give here any list data type, so if I give here any list data type, you can see that it is invalid argument because it is not integer. Alright, yes, it is 10. Now let's proceed further. So we have discussed these two practice problems, and we have decorators without discuss. So in this example, we are going to discuss the same thing. We have just discussed that how can we take input from the user in any in integer data type specifically. If the user entered any other data type, then we can generate this message invalid argument entered. Alright, now what if we are going to any specific data type, that user must enter either float, integer, or string, or list, or any float data type, but it should consist only one data type, not more than one data type. Suppose if this is a list, it can contain also multiple data types like strings, integer and floats, etc. But there should be only one data type, any specific. So as we are learning decorators with arguments, I'm going to make this program for any specific data type. Now we we need to import from functools. We need to import wraps, and then I am going to create a function called only. Only means we have only one specific data type, and I am naming the argument is data type. Alright. So this is the outer function which basically I am using. That I have created a function only with specific data. Now I am going to use my outer function called decorator, and this decorator contain function, and then I am using my wraps function to update my inner function called wrappers, and then in this I am going star arcs as an argument. Now so basically in this example we have the main function and the outer function and then the inner function. As we discussed that this wrap is used to update this wrappers function, which is our inner function. Now so we have to check that user must enter any specific data type. So this is the same syntax, but we need to use the different logic here. So type I must be equal to the data type. Why? Because any specific data type user entered, it must be the same. So that is why I'm using here, and I use I, so I need to use in a loop, or I can directly, instead of range, I can directly go into arcs. Yes. So if this condition is true, so after this condition I can just return function with star arcs as we discussed in just previous video, and then I can directly print. If this condition is not true, I can say that invalid argument. Alright, I can say that it is if this condition is true, then the function whatever the user entered, it will return when the user entered any specific data type. If this is not true, then it can say that it is the invalid argument. Now I just need to return my inner function, which is wrapper, and we are all done. No, I have another function I have created, which is my outer function called decorator. So I need to return decorator also. Now I can use my main function, which is only. So I am calling it here by using this decorator, and then so any specific data type from the user can enter. So I am using a string data type. So the name of my function I can use here. So when the user entered these data types, so we can do something by in these. So we have to do something whatever the user entered. So I am going to join the strings which user entered. So I am going to name my function that strjoin, and the argument of the function is star arcs. And now first I am going to create a variable s and assign it empty but in string format, and then I'm going to use I in arcs. Whatever the user will enter will store here first, star arcs, and then I'm going to update my variable s. Now I can just need to return this s, and we are all done. We can just print our function and give the argument. str join, and then suppose I am giving my first name as an string, and for the gap I am first gap and sorry, the name. So as you can see, if I run this program, again it is generating an error. What this time? That function is taking one argument and two is giving. Yes, sorry. As we discussed, when we are giving two arguments, n star r's, as we discussed, so I have to use the argument also here, as we are discussing the decorators with arguments. So I have to mention here str type, so that the user can enter only str type. So whenever the user entered any other, so it will generate the invalid argument. As you can see, if I run this program, it is again that update wrapper got multiple values for wrapped. That the update function, we have multiple values. Yes, still we have to give the argument. So many things I forgot here. Sorry for that. Basically, I have to use the function, same function which we are giving as outer function. I have to use it here. So if I again run this program, yes, now it is finally my strings got joined. You can see that these are first whatever the if I was working on the integer data type here, because I have discussed in just previous practice problem, so that is why I avoided it. So you can also do this for integer, string or float data type. You can also perform any function here. Suppose if this is a float, you can generate that it is a float, or you can separate those all the data types that user entered. You can separate it by their names, that this is float and this argument is something else. You can proceed it further. So that's all about today. So this chapter decorators is now completed, and so I am really sorry for the uh, discontinuities for uploading the videos. I will be consistent from the next month, as because I have been busy this week. If you are new here, please do subscribe and join the family. Thank you very much for watching.